Good afternoon. Welcome to this informational system about the proposed increases to broad-based fees for 2013 and 14. This is part of an ongoing student consultation process about these proposed increases. My name is Lyle Gomes, Vice President for Finance and Chief Budget Officer. With me here today are Jay Souza, Director of Campus Recreation, Jim O'Connor, Director of Sustainability and Transportation Services, Matt Larson, Senior Associate Director of Athletics, Rachel Burgesson, Medical Director for Student Health Services, and Chuck Powell, Interim Chief Information Officer. So again, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate you coming to this session. I mentioned before that this was one part of our ongoing student consultation process that actually started months ago with all of the great work that's being done by our student advisory committees with these service unit heads and their staff. Each one of these units has a student advisory committee that has been providing input, information, and reviewing the information that's being presented by these service unit heads and their staff to the students. In addition to the student advisory committees, we've sent letters out to students describing the proposed fee increases for next year. I've had meetings with student media and student leadership on the same topic. We've refreshed websites, again, for each one of these individual areas. In addition, the Bursar's website has been refreshed with the information about the proposed increases, and we actually have a free-formed capability for students to provide comments into us as well. What I'd like to do now is turn it over to each one of the service unit heads to give you some information about their proposed increase, and we'll start with Jay.
Hi, thanks for coming today. I'm happy to talk about our proposed fee increase for recreation. $2.25 is what we've been looking at. And of the rec center, you can probably imagine that our demand has gone up for indoor and outdoor use. So with the new construction of the rec center that opened in October, we're looking at expanding outdoors and looking at a field project over on South P, across from the commuter lot. And we're looking at a 3-field project, one being turf, 2 being much improved needed sod replacement, which would accommodate our club sport teams, open recreation, and intramurals for the student body. In addition, we're looking at increasing, because of our student demand for employment opportunities, we have a demand to employ more students, and with this fee would help subsidize some of those costs. And also, of course, to maintain and operate the new campus recreation center, which gets busier every day. We have about 2,000 to 3,000 students a day that come in our doors.
Okay, Jim?
How you doing? My name is, hello? How you doing? My name is Jim O'Connor, the Director of Sustainability and Transportation Operations here at Stony Brook University. I'd just like to let everybody in the crowd know that here in transportation, we really have a robust, engaged advisory group of students for a variety of different organizations that we have, and they provide a lot of input to us in regards to transit as well as ways we can become more sustainable. Recently, we had been faced with increases of fuel costs in order to operate transportation, and since I've been here in 2006, really all of the requests that we have received from students has been to increase transportation. So this year, we're very proud to say that we have increased the express bus route by having 6 buses on the route during peak times. We also added 3 buses to the Hospital Chapin route during peak times. So again, those are some examples of us increasing services. In order to deal with some of the rising fuel costs, we're also getting more sustainable. And how are we doing that? We're looking at hybrid technologies, plug-in vehicles in order to consume less fuel, either diesel fuel or gasoline. And a lot of students have already approached us about a new bike share that we have, which is called Wolf Ride. Within the next 3 weeks, you'll start to see our ribbon cutting ceremonies right around Earthstock that allow students to use their SBU ID cards at solar-powered kiosks that unlock a bike, and those students can traverse the campus on a bike instead of using fossil fuels to go around campus. So again, it's very important for students to be engaged, to take a look at our website. I encourage everybody to take a look at stonybrook.edu/transportation. On the left-hand side, on the bottom, you'll see transportation fee. In there, you'll see our meeting minutes, our presentations, as well as our budget. We're very proud to be transparent, and we always value your feedback. So again, we have all these new initiatives that are very good for the environment, but also increase the services to the community. So thank you.
Matt?
My name is Matt Larson, Senior Associate Director of Athletics, and you can find out some more information about the athletics program by visiting our website, goseals.org. And on behalf of the athletics program, I just want to thank the undergraduate students here in attendance today. We do only have, it's an undergraduate fee, and not only for the fee support, but certainly for the attendance support, coming out in masses to support the athletic program. Our student athletes has certainly given us the home court advantage, home field advantage. I think that it's garnered a lot of the success that we've had over the course of the last couple of years. And, from a return and investment standpoint, the championships, the College World Series, a lot of the national exposure and national branding that our programs have brought to the university, whether it being televised on ESPN and national TV outlets across the country, that's helped with alumni engagement. It's helped with the value of the degree here at Stony Brook, and certainly campus pride. As an alumni of Stony Brook from back in the mid-'90s, the amount of pride on campus of being proud to be a Seawolf, to wear red. I see obviously some red in the audience today. That's not something that happens overnight, and I think it's certainly if athletics plays a little bit of role in there, then certainly we've done our job then. Our fee increase this year is really to go to sustain the operation that we have, and whether it's contractual increases, continuing to do some branding initiatives, but certainly transportation costs, as Jim alluded to. So those are what the increases in our fee are going to go towards this year.
Hi, Rachel Burgess at the Student Health Service, and thank you all for attending. We're going to have our fee go up only by $1.50 per semester, and with that, we hope to continue to offer our free flu vaccines for the students. More students than ever took us up on our offer this year, and we're continuing to encourage that. And with the campus going tobacco-free in January 1st of 2014, we want to make tobacco replacement products, nicotine replacement products available to the students, and work with the Department of Health in bringing workshops, and so some of the funds will go toward providing that product to our students for free. As you know, if you had to purchase it on the outside, you can easily spend $50 for a box of nicotine replacement product, and that's just for a couple of weeks. And so what we want to do is be able to offer that to the students and actually get you to be able to quit smoking and be tobacco-free and enjoy the campus that way. We're also planning on using our funds to have the pharmacy hours be extended so that during any hours of operation of the Student Health Service, our desire is to have the pharmacy be open so that people can obtain what they need during those time frames and not have it be closed like on our Tuesday evenings as it has been in the past. And we're also trying to supplement the help at the front desk so that hopefully you can be waited on faster when you come in. So that I think it's a lot for our small increase, and again, we appreciate your support. We see about 25,000 students at the Student Health Service each year, and we'll continue to hopefully see more of you.
My name's Chuck Powell. I'm the interim CIO. Our proposed increase this year is $7.50, winds up being right around 3%. That money will be used in helping to fund both the continued replenishment and reliability of things like the network that we all reside on. Increasing coverage to include outdoor coverage across the campus is on its way. We're going back through all the residence halls trying to improve coverage down to the individual rooms as well as classrooms, and we want to get to places like Javits. In the same trend, we noticed that more and more students are making use of mobile technologies. Last year, we rolled out Blackboard Mobile, as well as Solar Mobile. Both were well received, and we want to continue to add functionality to those. And then we have some good old-fashioned costs that continue to rise, whether it's software licensing for Microsoft products, Adobe products. Those costs are continuing to rise, even while at some level hardware costs are shrinking. And we want to continue to invest in incremental services that make your campus life better. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, folks. At this point, I'd like to open it up for questions, input from our student body. Ma'am.
For Matt Martin. So I think talking to people like gave me this impression about the athletic fee is that it solely goes to like tutors for athletes, like apparel, and like other stuff for the athletes. But I just want to know if you guys have like an actual breakdown of like where the fee actually goes to that you can available on the website.
Yeah, there actually is. If you go off of with the Bursar sent out, if you go off the Bursar website, there is a link to a page on our website that talks about what the fee goes to fund, and I can touch on a couple pieces right now. You know, the athletic fee makes up a portion of our budget, certainly not the whole entire piece. So a lot of it's really to fund a lot of the operation, transportation, being able to travel around the country, you know, to represent the university. A lot of it, it's those costs. It's certainly, there are scholarship costs in there. So really, it's a piece that helps fund the global portion of our operation. So it's not just tutors or apparel or whatever it may be. There's a lot of other things that go into it. So.
Harris?
First of all, I want to say thank you for putting this work together. I think for 12 years, and it's been a very timely improvement in the communication of the administration for the students. But there still seems to be some easiness in how some of the fees affect particularly the graduate students of the campus attended ways. So I can speak, for instance, I sit on the Transportation Advisory Board, and I've had the opportunity to attend the meetings, and Jim O'Connor came to Jesus and he gave a presentation of where the transportation fee goes to. But for instance, for the technology fee, which seems to be a sticking point for the vast majority of graduate students, they really don't feel like we're getting our money's worth out of it. And it's even more of a sticking point because it's the most substantial, I guess, of all the fees. So could you speak specifically to how graduate students and graduate student education benefits from the technology fee?
So we try and approach it from every possible perspective, Harris. As you well know, we clearly try and invite you and the graduate students officially. As far as our informal advisory committee goes, we try and make it as representative as possible to include graduate students, professional students, as well as undergraduates, and listen to all the needs across campus. When we run survey work, and we did again this year to understand satisfaction with various services, we also try very hard to make sure we understand the nuances of differences between what graduate students want and undergraduate students want. So when we look at the data, we very much try and break it out and not lump everyone together. And I can and will share chapter and verse the information that says basically graduate and undergraduate students both value network coverage heavily, and lately we've had more reliability issues with undergraduates than we had with graduate students. Both of you all highly value improvements like Solar Mobile when you can access that data and make use of that system. And then in the usual way, we just try and listen and be as fair as we can in terms of allocating the funding, full well knowing that there's never enough money to go around. The last time I sat down with the advisory committee, I literally brought them the pie charts that show where all the money goes so we could have the discussions. And you can drill down on that information endlessly, but I would encourage you to keep sending reps and please get into the fray and ask us the hard questions. And I can talk about it at a high level today, but fairness is always in the eye of the beholder, so I'm not sure I'm going to convince you in this forum that the world is fair right now.
So as you mentioned that you have like those pie charts, I know the Jim's group does all the minutes and of their advisory board meeting online. They have the budget. I think it was proposed, I think month after month, it was also viewed online. Is that information available for the advisory board?
At a high level, it definitely is off our website as well. And if you need or want more or want to have discussions about certain pieces of it, please be in touch.
Yeah, but where is that information? It was not on the advisory board website, on the advisory.
So I believe the URL is something like tech fee. Certainly if you search the Do It website for the words tech fee, it will pop right up to you. I'm sorry to say I didn't bring the URL with me today. I know it went out in the letters, and I know it also links off the Bursar's website.
technology, for example, is something that any employee expects to have in their place of business. So I guess we are very concerned with this policy of taxing these fees, employees that make barely a minimum wage, which is what, most graduate students, or a significant number of graduate students are, at this university, who are TAs and GAs. So, just wanted to raise that issue with you, see if you had any comments about that.
Did you want to? Do you want to? Go ahead.
So I'm Chuck Tabor. I'm the interim dean at the graduate school. Actually, we were just speaking with GSO leadership about some of these issues. I think that really the points you're raising have to do with the distinction between employment and student status. And the fact is you're both. The fact is you are students and you're employees at the university. So you receive payment through your employment, but as students you still pay the fee. You're part of the community of students here at Stony Brook, and so you still need to pay a fee like other students do. If I'm employed off campus and I'm a student, I still pay that fee. Okay, so the fee really has nothing to do with your employment. It has to do with your student status.
But our student status has everything to do, our labor has, intimately connected with our status as students.
Absolutely.
Because you put in student, graduate students, without both that training that we get as workers here, but also in terms of sustaining, all the responsibilities that a professor would have in a lot of ways in terms of teaching and publishing.
Well, that's not quite true, but you certainly have many of the responsibilities that a researcher would have or a faculty member would have, but you're also at the same time students. Okay, you continue to be students until the time that you graduate. What would we say, for example, to a student who's not employed at the university? A graduate student who's not an employee. There are certainly many of them who are self-supported students. Yes?
But we are clearly not paying for our students. For example, how we distinguish between forming and teaching assistant. Technology I use as a teaching assistant and my student.
So there's no way to sort of apportion the amount of the internet that you're using for your work and the work part that you're using for your student activities. It's not possible to apportion those, but there is some portion of it that you do use as students, and that's what you are receiving a fee for. In other words, as a student, whether you're employed here or not, you're using essentially the same amount or comparable amount of these services that other students are using who are not employees. Okay, so you're paying a fee comparable to what they pay. Correct?
Not at all. How can you say that somebody who's just a graduate student here uses these facilities as much as somebody who is just a graduate student and also needs to work? How is it even possible? What you just said now highly contradicts what you said earlier, which is that we cannot tell the difference. Now you're saying there's no difference. So
No, you misunderstood me. The portion of your time that you spend using these resources as a student is comparable to the portion that someone who is a student here but not an employee is using these resources. Really, back to the original point. What this boils down to is you are both students and employees, and you, as a student, you are being assessed fees that support your student activities here. Well, I mean, I wouldn't agree that you are no longer using services as a student, even as you are approaching G5. I think you're certainly still using transportation services, health services.
I was talking about
technology services. Right.
I never use transportation here because I have to drive somewhere else sometimes. I don't use these services at all.
Right. So fees, to speak clear, fees are not assessed on an individual according to that individual's.
That is true.
We're a community, right? So we support services that are necessary for the community.
Technology fee often goes for the higher level grad students, not on, they're not studying anymore, they're mostly working towards their fees, doing research.
We had a very similar conversation in the last hour.
I don't know if you like, I would bring up again the counter argument that I have where we compare an RA versus a postdoc. And what is, a late stage, I don't say late stage RA, it's not a disease, but, an advanced level RA versus a postdoc, where they're both doing research. There is a personal gain component in pursuit of that research instead of the RA pursuing a degree versus a postdoc who's pursuing a patent CV.
Absolutely.
A patent position. But you assess fees on the RA, but you don't assess fees on the postdoc, right?
So the difference between those two people is the RA is working towards completing a dissertation, towards a degree, and in the process of completing that dissertation, you're doing work that is focused on the dissertation. Now, in many labs, it may be that research is comparable or part of work that you're doing for employment, but there still is, in principle, a division. You're producing a product, a dissertation, and you require resources in order to produce that product. The postdoc, however, is purely an employee.
I think the question of whether a postdoc versus another employee or somebody who uses computers or buses or not is, I think, it's a ruse to kind of divide us amongst ourselves. The meeting here is being called just to talk about the proposed increases, correct? And thank you very much for all the individual presentations, but not a single one of you has made one mention about why the fee needs to go up. What you instead sort of talked about is why the cost of services has gone up, and that's fantastic. But we're not a stupid bunch, and we know that when you tell us that, what you're leaving unsaid is the idea that because costs are going up, these costs must be passed on to us. So that is why this meeting is being called, not to tell us a list of things for which the cost has gone up. So can any one of you, or Dean Tabor, if you could tell us why exactly you think that these costs need to be put on to graduate students?
So each one of these service units are self-supporting. So you guys, also are paying the full cost of providing the service. No other funding sources are coming in to these units, into these units to support these activities. So when costs go up, or there are new services or enhanced services, those costs have to be paid for by fees, by revenue. They're all self-supporting, so Campus Rec has its own account. All its revenue comes from the Campus Rec fees. All the costs that pertain to that account are housed in that individual account. Nowhere else. So there's no other, other costs that go in there, and there's no other revenue that go in there as well. So each one of these units is self-supporting.
I'd just like to add to Lyle's comment. Here in transportation, we take it very serious that we have an advisory group, and we take the information from the student body, and ultimately we follow that in terms of what we shape for services. Again, since I've been here since June of 2006, we've collectively heard feedback repeatedly from the student body that we needed additional transportation services on different routes at different times, specifically on campus as well as off campus. So taking that feedback and building it into a budget and working through that advisory group, we do educate students who participate on what it costs to provide that service, and ultimately the cost to expand it, the cost to keep it as is, or the cost to retract it. And it's important to note that we've unheartedly, for the past 7 years or so, have always got feedback to continue what we have for service or expand it. So that's based on student feedback that's provided to us. So again, through that interaction at advisory group, it's important to provide that feedback. And if you're not able to attend that meeting, potentially maybe a representative of yours could do so and provide additional feedback, we're always willing to listen.
I mean, I'm not saying that those things are not things that students don't need, absolutely, and that are things that they don't want. But, I mean, sort of just coming back to what you had said, I mean, to say this must be done because of self-financing is to say it must be done because we decided it must be done this way. It doesn't sort of question why it is that no other possible sources of revenue can be looked at for things like this. Instead, we're just saying, you're telling us, and I understand these things have been written sort of into policies with an eye-tap thing deliberately so that it makes it difficult to mess around with. But at the same time, it doesn't do us very much to hear that this is the way it must be done because it's being written, it must be self-financing. It's only self-financing because it's being said that it must be such. So it doesn't really answer my question at all.
So what is the question?
Why are grad employees paying?
I thought that was a good question.
You guys know how much we make, right? You know how much we make? You know how much we make? a
Yeah.
year? Sad, I think, I have another $1,000.
I mean, I feel like it's still like 2 points to make from, David. Our employeeship is, basically for the purpose of supporting our ability to, like, study here and focus on our studies to a degree that's much higher than undergraduates. It's our job to be studying and working on our dissertation and publishing and, becoming good teachers. To then take out a very significant chunk of that money that's basically for the purpose of helping us survive while we are trying to support ourselves in these studies. It's disingenuous of me. And also, I think it's kind of ridiculous to say that you can't parse out what we use as employees and what we use as students. I mean, there's all kinds of there's surveys that you could do to see what support services employees, graduate student employees use as opposed to regular students. There's all kinds of ways of figuring that out. The point is that you don't want to do so, or I don't mean to say you specifically or anyone specifically, but the point is that you aren't willing to do that, which is what we're asking.
Well, in fact, on the technology fee, which Chuck Powell was talking about before, they have in fact conducted surveys to determine the nature of use, things like that. And in fact, what you find is there's not significant differences between the use of students who are employees and students who are not employees.
But, I mean, technology is probably not one that I would point to, though. Maybe like recreation, for example. I know a lot of graduate students that use outdoor fields. They have to pay to use the rec center right now. If the rec center gets improved, we have to pay to use it anyway.
Actually, the only undergraduates pay the rec fee.
The rec fee is voluntary.
Okay, so that's not part of our.
I took it that your arguments mostly pertain to the technology fee. If that's not the case, I think it's actually even clearer that the services that you use, in other words, it is easier to parse out than, health services or transportation services or things like that, or things that you would do as a student here. I thought that the problem, and it is in fact a problem, is that your roles are mixed. Okay, if it's in fact the case, I acknowledge that. Okay? And you are doing work that simultaneously is towards a degree and is also research that is often part of your employment. I acknowledge that. But you need to acknowledge that the work you're doing is also towards a degree. In other words, you're attempting to argue that you're essentially purely students. I think you need to acknowledge, just as I have, that your roles are in fact mixed. And that you're not just employees in this role, you're still students. And so a portion of your work, a significant portion of your work, is in fact towards your degree. To the last moment of defending your dissertation, which I remember fondly.
one small point on the point that there is no sort of discernible or maybe statistically significant differences between, let's say, internet usage for graduate students and students who, those who are graduate students who are not working here versus those who are just graduate students here. That doesn't tell us anything. It does not tell us that the balance is not. Those people who are graduate students and working here could in fact be using 90% of their internet time as workers here. So the fact that they are proportionate amounts doesn't tell us anything. It also says that we have similar uses. It doesn't tell us what we're using it for, just to point out.
No, I completely agree, but I was just responding to the suggestion that we do that and saying that when we do that, we find, in other words, we were told we should survey students who are not employees and students who are employees and compare their usage. And I'm saying that their usage is comparable. I agree with you, but that still doesn't tell us for employees who are students exactly what they're doing for their student activities and what they're doing for employment. I don't know how we can do that. You have suggestions?
Is there anything that being students could say today which would in any way affect what fees we would receive?
Yes, I'd say yes. I'd like to hear more. But what would it take? What is in your mind the argument that may not be true, but if it were heard, let's say, what would it take? How is this, the purpose of this meeting, how can its outcome be changed?
Are there services that we're proposing that are necessary, that doesn't impact the quality and the safety of the services that are being provided? I mean, can you guys come up with things that we really shouldn't be doing, that we're heading down a completely
It's not
wrong
about
path?
running the services, it's about finding the resources somewhere else, and the people are going to use them for $50,000 a year. $50,000 a year. It's like half of poverty level, isn't it? Something like that.
Go back to that same issue, I'm trying to get some kind of,
Well, going back to transportation, like go to their website, it's very easy to find minutes and like the budget that they provide every month, and see to do that. I just wanted to look at the next one that, it provides some information on, this is the tech fee and just in general what it is, but, there's no clear transparency, same way transportation does. And all the other departments could do that. That would be a big step forward, I think, for understanding that. I mean, even in marketing. So the way that the email was sent out is that the fee is increasing, and that's it. And so the way the wording of it is that this is already done, and this is just kind of a, I don't know, a meeting made after the fact.
consultation process.
All right, well then,
I agree. No, I appreciate it.
And all that, like,
That's absolutely great.
All meant for transparency argument, and I think that would alleviate a lot of these issues.
Thank you, that's great.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Rubitz. I'm the president of undergraduate student government. I just have a few questions. So when are these fees will be enacted and taking place?
So what happens is the proposal goes up to the student, and then the student board of trustees acts on it sometime in May, the May meeting, and then it's effective before.
Okay, and then just a couple other questions. So is this just mainly for the needs of SBU, or is there competition from other SUNY schools that are also increasing their fees on campus?
So give me some more comment.
I mean,
competition.
I know, SUNY state schools always compete against those to have the resources on campus and be the best SUNY school. But are these fees particularly just being raised because of the needs of the students on campus, or is it also in competition with other SUNY schools?
Well, you always, to address the needs, you always want to be in the spot where we're providing the absolute best services and quality for students that come here. Right? You want students to come in to get the experience that they really expect to get. Basic services and then enhanced services that I hope these folks are, explaining and providing. I think they are. But certainly, it is competitive. You want to be able to have an interest. I mean, it's not just within these services, it's everything. We want to have a high level of quality. We want your experience to be great. We want your degree to be valuable. We want you to get everything you need to get. No doubt.
If I may, Lyle, another important point I'd make on it is we do keep a close eye on what the other centers are doing. I mean, we try not to compare ourselves for obvious reasons to Hudson Valley Community College, but I can tell you chapter and verse, if you compare your student tech fee with Buffalo, this past year you paid $216, they paid $355. So we do pride ourselves on generating great value, and to the gentleman's question, yes, we're proposing an increase, and the reason we're proposing the increase is our costs have gone up. I don't have any other funding sources, and my choices are to either cut back on services rather than to actually increase them. I don't believe our rates are disproportional to other centers that I can fairly compare myself, or even a nationwide average. And quite frankly, it's either reduce services or mildly increase your fee to cover what we're currently paying for today because my costs keep going up. If I want additional internet connectivity to the outside world, it's basically, no matter how I go buy it, but it's going to cost me somewhere on the order of $120,000 to $150,000 every year, and we desperately need it because the network is getting consumed. If you want me to be able to cover the outside areas on the academic mall, which we're in the process of doing, there's no arguing around the fact that every one of those access points that are going to blast out the radio waves that you're going to ride with your cell phone is going to cost me about $20,000 to install. And then we can get into the differences between graduate student and undergraduate students. I get that, and the employee issue I get to, but from one perspective, the reason why we're telling you is we want to propose an increase is costs are rising, and our choice literally become reduce services, eliminate services, or adjust the amount of money we bring in through the tech fee.
I just have one final question. So I know for the undergraduate students, last year we had a 2-year mark where students had to vote on the student activity fee. And I know that it's kind of separate from everything, but with these increases being proposed, kind of next year students will be voting on the student activity fee as well. I know these increases will affect students, and it might turn them off to voting towards the past student activity fee. I was wondering, that student activity funds, close to 165 clubs on campus, and if that doesn't pass, then all those clubs don't have funding, and it significantly hinders student life on campus. And that's my main concern as president of the organization is, are these fees going to negatively, influence students and think, oh, well, that student activity is going up as well, or, I'm not going to let that pass because my tuition is already rising up. So, how is that going to be affected?
It's real issue. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if I either have any insight. Wisdom? You always have.
The activity fees are treated in a separate part of the city legislation, the state legislation, and clearly there's been a very gradual increase in the activity fees. And I don't think about it as being competitive, but it certainly is a situation where the undergraduates and the graduate students have the ultimate control over that fee. That is one area where it's very clear that if students vote to do something, as long as they follow the rules, that's their prerogative. And I presume that the ceiling on those fees is going to be raised based on the meetings that the student assembly. The cap was 100, it's going to, what I presume is eventually or initially or immediately 125. But that is the ultimate student vote decision process.
Along those lines, why aren't these fees ever voted upon by the students? Like the students?
That's student power.
Okay, so it's also
Student power.
Okay. So I have a question for Matt Larson. I'm sorry, I'm a big athlete fan. I went to Omaha, so I'm looking
No, it's all right.
The only reason why I'm asking is because I know that there is just a big stigma against that athletic piece. I feel as though if you ask me questions, it would be a lot easier.
Okay.
So I wanted to first know, I have a question and kind of a comment.
It's actually a combination, and to be quite honest with you, you know, we try to meet at least quarterly when we meet with the group. I offer we'll meet monthly, we'll meet whenever. And to be quite honest with you, it's with great difficulty between advertising, putting in our website to get people to come. And you know, we want to be, I think similar to what Jim said, we want to be as transparent as possible. This is what the fee goes to. This is what our budget looks like. This is what it's comprised of. These are where the increases are. You know, I think we're very willing to do that. You know, unfortunately, the attendance hasn't been great. The audience hasn't been great. But certainly, I'd be more than willing to sit with you and sit with a group, you know, of other students that are concerned that you know, that think there is a stigma with the athletic fee and really what does it go for. I'd be more than happy to sit with a group and do that. I just haven't been able to have an audience that's been interested enough to this point to really come and do that. So, you know, I see it as, you know, student athletes are just as welcome as regular students because they pay the fee. You know, they're part of the student body, and sure, certainly they should be invited as well.
And my just comment is I feel though, because our school has been so successful with athletics, I think most students think that we're getting more donors, so they would need more money, and I feel as though a lot of students are kind of saying like, we're getting more donors and like all these things, why are there things increased still?
No, that's a fair point. Is, you know, as I said earlier, you know, part of where we may be a little bit different than some of the other units is, you know, our budget is made up of a couple of different areas, and certainly fundraising is one of them. And I would like to say that there has been increases, and there have. As much as we'd like, probably not. But that's something certainly that is added into it, and that's where I think we've been able to, as some of our other competitors, is really drive the fee up. We haven't been able, we haven't done that because we have had other revenue streams that we've tried to bring in, whether it's, you know, through our internet, through our website, through donors, through corporate sponsorships, et cetera. You know, we're excited about the new arena coming on board. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to generate some revenue that way, whether it be ticket sales and those types of things. So that's certainly a piece of what we try to do, and I think that's what we've been able to try to keep the fee down as best we can, you know, as opposed to some of our competitors, because we do have an opportunity to bring in some additional revenue.
Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm a graduate of the Graduate Student Question on here about recreation and regarding recreation, please that using murals, visual stage is $30. And right now, there is a facility within which you can maybe old recreation facility. Practically $85 is what we do, and I assume there's no way to separate the old recreation from the new one. So right now, in order for students to use the same services they used to use, they pay $30 for it, they want to pay $85. Is there a way to facilitate separation between the demo and the gym? The students who use the facility do not necessarily want to use the gym, they might use the gym as close to their home. Because we have a lot of our computers, so I don't know if we can spend anyone to the gym. And my second question is about communication. You mentioned that you mentioned that you guys are thinking about some changes, but in the morning the bus is still full. I think it's full 2 years ago. And since the fees have been rising a little bit, and you have as buses, maybe revisit this pattern that there is in changing, because if you look at that, changing students are master students, most students will take the class. And then they need to do some classes in the morning. So in the morning, there's a large people. But closer to the end of the day and the afternoon, they don't necessarily do as much around it because they don't have enough engaged with the campus life and stuff as much around the day. So maybe we just could visit this pattern and move some of the later shift or later ones to the morning. Because this has been involved on the years now. The buses can do and stuff.
Well, I just like to say thank you for your feedback, and we consider that to be very important. One, without a doubt, we can take a look at additional services and what that would do, or flexing our schedule that will allow using our existing services in order to meet some of the peak demands that you articulated below. We recently increased the number of buses on Hospital Chapin on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the peak times of 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. However, again, like you said, if that's not meeting your needs, we can certainly look at that by looking at how many passengers board that bus at certain times, and without a doubt flexing the schedule. And like I said before, we'll do our best in order to use our existing services, in order not to increase overhead and increase the number of buses we need, and maybe just continue to get more intelligent about how we offer that service too.
And thank you for a recreation question. I was hoping I could answer something today. But in terms of intramural sports, you're exactly correct. Let me explain how this works. For all recreation activities, undergraduate students pay for everything. So when we built the new rec center, that's entirely funded by undergraduate student fees. So if we were to let the grad students in without paying membership, like faculty staff need to, then that would be providing additional service at no cost, which really isn't fair to the undergraduates. They're more than welcome to play our outdoor activities with our outdoor intramural events, and they can register through our normal avenues, but they would still have to pay for membership to utilize programs and services inside the rec center, because that's what it's been assessed to our undergraduate students.
There's no way to separate them, like, school is put it bad when they're just not to let them in.
Well, it becomes, I'm not going to say it's impossible. I think we'll investigate that, because I have noticed our grad student intramural usage has gone down, particularly because of the membership piece. But it's no different than if I let in people that want to participate, like faculty staff, for instance, are really griping because they want to take group fitness classes, but they can't unless they join. But how do I manage that if I let them in the building, then I have no idea where they went after the group fitness class? So if you're coming in to play a sport, how do I know you're not going to go to the free weight room or go run the track? I'm not going to babysit you for their time. You know what I mean? So it becomes a management issue, which we can certainly entertain that. I'd love to bring up the discussion and talk to our advisory board about it. But as of right now, I have to be fair to the undergraduates since they are paying for everything. And I would have to discuss that with the USG folks as well, since they're paying for people to come in and use their building. Does that make sense?
Right, it makes total sense to me, but I was just proposing to move away from this solution. I don't know, this time, you have to do student plays sitting on the ground in the gym, the recreation center at all times. I noticed. So maybe they could, there's someone who can push your people to need to go and gym, because right now, we used to have a program back when there was the zero, and at the far strength, you see the light, the registered light and wall, within the campus, for the gym. Right now, I cannot see who is the gym, who is, so I have to be considered as everyone, and then just suddenly be able in my budget, so I think this
I don't know if I understand your question. So you're currently a member of the rec center because you come and use it? Is that correct?
right, but, they can, right now, they can do it.
Graduate students? Oh, yeah, sure. Yes.
But yes, I realize that it is hard to distinguish between everything, but there's a way because they have different points, right? So they can force separate.
That's correct, yes.
Right, so I'm just proposing to look at the way to distinguish them, because it puts really not allowing university to come in here, because they have policy to supervise. And I have a new come down and I'm not ready to participate in the gym one.
So you'd like us to investigate the option of looking at potentially identifying grad students that are not paying members to allow them to play intramural sports indoors? I think it's something I can certainly discuss with our advisory board, and you could bring it up. But again, in all fairness, the undergrads, they are paying for utilization of that entire center, and I don't know that that would go over too well with them. But I could certainly bring it up. Thank you.
You could also try to distinguish between grad students who only do one class, because you still have undergrads in front of the door to mark everybody who goes in, so just to know how many people are in each class. you can say a grad student who wants to do only one campus rec class is only allowed in one rec class per week, and give him like before one stamp, so you can reduce the fees instead of for all classes the fee you can reduce for grad students who want only one class a week. You can reduce the fee, or a grad student who wants to do two classes or all the classes, as we did before.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. That's with our group fitness program. So if a student wants to go in and participate, well, what we've done since the rec center opened is all classes are at no cost because the undergraduate's paying for all of it. So right now, if I were to do that, it's no different. I have to treat it the same as I would faculty staff. And they want to come take classes too, but they can't unless they join the building, just like the undergraduates do. So in order for me to manage that, they would have to join because I can't start petitioning out because now I've got 200 people running around the building that are only supposed to be in one area. Do you understand? That's my management issue with it. It's very challenging to do that. So to blanket it, we allow them to join as an option, which in essence would cost you far less than it would paying once a week to go to a class.
So I think a lot of the questions that those of us in GSCU have been asking have to do with the question of whether there's a possibility for alternative funding and services, which we definitely do and we appreciate happening, and also going to be what we feel is the unfair financial burden placed on us as grad students in proportion. And just kind of a broad institutional question, Terry. I think Chuck, you were talking about how your hands are tied in terms of you can basically either raise student fees or increase or not, at least not improve local service. And I'm sure that all of them probably feel that same way, kind of what your options are at the level that you're operating. So my question is kind of two-part. One, at what level would change have to be made to find alternative funding sources outside of student fees in general? And second, where would change have to take place to at least consider a differential fee structure between undergraduate and graduate students for this?
You want me to go first, or do you want to, Lyle? So the good news for you is I actually lobby every possible funding source I can. Make no mistake, I'm happy to go to President Stanley's office and lobby for more IT support, and in some cases, he's been forthcoming. But if you've been here more than a couple of years, you understand that our other primary source of funding has been state higher education budget. And that, however you want to describe that, and in all deference to Governor Cuomo, who's been a friend of this institution and is trying to put money back into higher education. I haven't been here that long, but I can look back through the books and look at quite a bit of slashing and burning of the budget on the state side, which means that was one door that was closed to me. I promise you, I'm agnostic to source of funds in some sense. I just want to provide you great IT services. And I'm also very open to rearranging the services, and if there are things you don't need, and I have one particular on my radar scope that I'm not going to bring up unless somebody asks me the question, I'd love to spend less money on some things so I can reinvest it and not have to increase your fees. But that has to be a delicate discussion, and as the rec center discussion highlighted, it's always very dangerous to look at one population versus another in their usage patterns. So we have to be very careful in that arena, and I try and honestly fund those things that are most broadly and most ubiquitously useful to everyone on this campus, rather than ever being accused of saying, I'm taking care of arts majors. You know, why would I favor them over STEM people or any other population? So I actually always try and look thoughtfully with the advice of our advisory group to try and where are the right places to invest. And honestly, when I look at the data today, networking is one that I can't argue because I see a clear trend from both the graduate and undergraduate population that more bandwidth, more reliable bandwidth is an absolute necessity. Moving towards mobile applications, whether it's Solar or Blackboard, is a constant and perennial favorite. And then as you move down the stack, you get into differentials, you know, literally not just by graduate versus undergraduate, but by discipline. Should I spend lots of money on general productivity tools like Microsoft Office, or should I spend more money on the Adobe suite, which holds a lot more sway in the arts than it does in the sciences? Those are the kind of tough trade-offs we have to make. And I will defer to Lyle for the discussion about what it would take to come up with differential rates.
Well, that would have to be a rate to SUNY, that's SUNY policy. And the way SUNY does it is it would have to be policy that would apply to everyone in SUNY campuses. So this would have to be raised up to the chancellor's office and the board of trustees. Tough conversation, cost of attendance, and different treatment and different opportunities, for lack of a better word, for certain campuses versus others. So it's a complicated conversation, but more about the budget situation, because I think people here are asking other alternative sources. So Chuck mentioned it, although the state hasn't reduced our budget because of maintenance efforts in 2020, before that, 4 years in a row, they continually cut our budget to the tune of $82 million accumulated amounts. So we're still trying to survive that, and administration is trying to do its part by reducing its costs. We continue to do that. Even though we seem to have a steady state, there are many, many competing issues. Falls that are on this budget, this would be a fall in all those other competing, which, if we had a list, I think you guys would agree that many are valid requests on the budget that we have to support. So it's kind of in the realm of, we really do have less money than we did 4 years ago. And the state is also not supporting things like increases for salaries, union increases for salaries, increased cost of doing business, fringe benefits. So in a way, that is a budget cut, because we're not covering the increased cost of doing business. So very challenging budget environment. We're trying to keep the heat, light, and power on and maintain these services, and that's why SUNY set up this kind of budget model about 20 years ago to have each one of these service units kind of be a separate and apart from tuition. So it's saying, if you want these services, you're going to provide it through this kind of self-funded model. Tough model, but it's the structure we're stuck with right now.
So I guess I realize that you guys want the money, but I would suggest that this fee-based approach is inherently an unethical way to collect the money, because the people, when you get a scholarship, for example, it will be based on tuition oftentimes, and then you'll have a shortfall because you'll have to somehow come up with the money for the fees. So it's basically almost identical to like a hidden fee credit card thing, where you think you're going in for one thing. You might even pick your school based on a certain budget, and then it turns out because of all the kind of hidden fees, you actually picked the wrong school and you came in basically before to go here anymore, because you didn't expect the fees that you were getting. So I would suggest if we are stuck with this hidden fee system, maybe just decrease all the fees as much as you possibly can, in hopes that somehow this ultimate funding will come. If you can't basically force the ultimate funding, just kind of by attrition, just decrease the fees in hopes that something else will fill the gap. I would suggest the fee itself is unethical.
Charging the fee is unethical to provide these services?
Yes, charging the fee is unethical because, just like hidden fees with credit cards, you can't plan for your future when you can't even tell what all the fees are. And when you talk to someone in school about how much your tuition is, you go to the schools with the packages. Then after you choose your school and the fees are changing, or there's fees you understand, there's added fees, basically it's a bait and switch. So yes, I would suggest this approach of fees is unethical, and I don't think you should use this approach.
I don't think.
Can I get a suggestion? Certainly, yeah, we obviously advocate paying less fees, but if that can't be done, it would have been helpful on the acceptance letter with the offer, right? Because we're saying, when I received the offer as a PhD student, it says tuition is covered and this is your salary. Is it possible to have all the fees included in that, and also you're required to pay these schools?
Not only is it possible, it's required. So if you receive an offer letter that does not disclose the fees you're supposed to receive, it is not an authorized offer letter by the school person.
I don't recall seeing
That is not an offer letter.
Well,
So sometimes there's confusion between an offer letter and an exchange you receive directly from the department. The department sometimes send out an email or they'll send out a letter. It is not the official offer letter. You should all have received, graduate students I'm talking about, an official offer letter.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So it has your salary, and then sign it, and give it to the department secretary.
Yeah, that should have disclosed, should have disclosed, please. If it didn't, please let me know.
I think there needs to be more transparency and enforcement.
So just so you know, the way that this works, every year, we just went through the process. Every spring during the recruitment season, the graduates will send to all of the programs a template offer letter that is the authorized, the approved offer letter that they are supposed to use. Okay? The offers actually will come from the programs. So if they are perhaps using an old offer letter or something I need to know about it, then I can enforce the requirement. I agree if it's not disclosed, that it's not good. But it is required to be disclosed.
I'm Mallory. I don't know if you myself already. I'm part of the undergraduate student government, and I also work with the representative and also part of the Transportation Advisory Board. So I just wanted to know if you guys can put the minutes up, because I feel that a lot of people are talking about transparency, and I don't know if the minutes have been put on the website or who attends the meetings and stuff like that, or who's actually a part of the advisory board. I think I didn't know if it was updated, so that's kind of a suggestion for you guys to maybe put it up there, because I mean, people might want to know what we're discussing about intramural reports, book and all that as well.
Thank you, certainly.
With the minutes, I know that the meeting times are publicized on the website, but are there any other outlets that the departments are being used to reach specifically to both graduate students and undergraduate students? I mean, I know we have the student life, SC life, and those types of events that are supposed to, that students see all the time. Is there going to be some effort to reach out to students more, just to make sure that students have all the people to know what time the graduate students are being held?
You know, I can speak for transportation. Again, I would reference you to our website where we do list the dates, times, locations of our meetings. We also enjoy coming to meet with organizations such as USG, GSO, RHA, as well as CSA. So ultimately, if you would like to have us come speak to your group and have some more dialogue, you know, without a doubt, we're more than willing to do that here in transportation. Again, I would reference our website as to our transportation advisory group. Dates and times in order to learn more about when and where we meet.
So you guys more for like a push out of, yeah, and I think we will focus on that, absolutely. And also going through, you know, the leadership office as well, and can help us with that strategy, push those information out, times and dates that we need best.
And that's one of the things I've tried to do in the past too, because our attendance hasn't been great. I've reached out to undergraduate student government, commuter student organization, a lot of the different groups on campus, fraternity and sororities, the band, et cetera, the Dean of Students Office, to try to get recommendations from them. I've reached out and invited people to it. You know, and again, I think that's something that we can continue to do on an annual basis. So.
I just kind of wanted, it seems like the meeting is wrapping up, just reiterate that we, I think, I don't, I think we as a group don't really accept this, this acknowledgement from the university that we have sort of a unique status as employees and students, and then that logically leads to us paying the same time as a regular student. I think that we don't
Thank you.